Hi friends, welcome back. I'm going to make my August Kate in the Nest project. I thought I'd start from the start. I'll try and talk loud and fast so you cannot hear the barking dog. It is incredibly annoying because they've started leaving him all day, and so now he just thinks he has every right to bark his head off for the entire day, and not to be one of those neighbours, but I will be, I think, complaining. So I've got a circle. I've used a bowl upside down and I've cut that out. I decided I'd use two different weights. So this is quite a thicker weight blanket, so that will be the base, and you can see the circle here from the bowl. I just used the friction pen and I cut around, slightly bigger than the actual pen. And I've just got one long strip. So my idea, and I think this is how Kate does it, is to secure, excuse me, the edge. So I didn't want to do a very large bowl for this. I made that sort of Paris-y kind of one last time, and yeah, that was a lot larger. I want to do a smaller one because some of the work I want to do will be a little bit time consuming, and I haven't done that sort of work before, so we'll see how we go with it. So I am going so sorry about most of my videos at the moment complaining about the dog, but it is absolutely annoying. So I'm going to stitch around. Oh, you gotta love it, don't you? I mean, I'm not really a barky dog person. I don't mind dogs, but if they bark 24/7, it's incredibly stressful. And this one, when he's barking constantly, is very annoying. And also when they get home from work and play with him, he's got a very high-pitched yap. So I do constantly complain about this damn dog. I know, it's the hazards. I was watching one of Ariane Zurch's videos, and she was talking about people saying, oh, is that noise from upstairs? And she was talking about living in New York City, and you know, part of your issue with living more in the city is just dealing with the noise. And I think I went to the doctor 2 days ago, and I just said, you know, I was just going through my symptoms and talking about how noise is so annoying to me, and we're looking at having an ADHD diagnosis, which makes perfect sense. So when I was across the road having a chat to my friend, I'm so grateful that I've had a friend move in across the road that is an artist. It is just absolutely wonderful. I was having a chat to her because we're both in our 60s, and I said to her, since I had my hysterectomy for endometrial cancer, I've basically got no estrogen in my body. They didn't put me on HRT at the time because you don't want more estrogen back in when you've got to wait for your 5-year, you know, clearance, I guess. Clearance sounds like a sale, doesn't it? But apparently the lack of estrogen can make any ADHD symptoms much worse. So we're looking at that. So that's a surprise to me. It is actually in my family. Well, Lily's being tested for it at the moment, and my niece also has been tested for ADHD. And so it's also interesting because it is part of neurodiversity. It is part of being not neurotypical. It's something I've always known about myself, that I am not neurotypical. And part of my relationship over the last 4 years has been trying to navigate a relationship with someone who is neurotypical, not understanding how a neurodiverse brain works. So all of this is stuff I knew, but when you think, oh, it's just PTSD and an anxiety disorder, you know, you just don't know why it sort of seems worse than what they're describing until you have a diagnosis. Lily and I have many discussions about diagnosis and whether or not you should have a diagnosis, because sometimes it labels you. You know, my sister was worried about labelling her daughter by getting a diagnosis, but in all honesty, having a diagnosis is it's just very helpful. It really helps with whether you can work out what medication you need, with knowing what maybe other support systems. Anyway, this new doctor was really great. I mean, my other doctor's fabulous too. She's great, but they just keep putting their prices up, and it's just too hard for the finances. Anyway, when you start looking at this whole sort of, I don't know what the word is, pile of symptoms, you start to realise that there are a lot of ADHD symptoms that women are not they're not diagnosed with, because women's brains work so differently than men's. So everyone's like, well, you know, the boys that are jumping off the walls in the classroom that are not behaving or not paying attention or whatever, women have been so entrained to be the good girls, to get it right, to fit in, you know, all of those things. So we have learnt to mask how we're doing. We've learnt to mask everything. And I think this is a really valid conversation to have, even if you're not ADHD, how much we try to fit in and get it right. And it's kind of a difficult subject, because if you say you're neurodiverse, it has a stigma sometimes. Anyway, I want to talk about that today, because I think when Ariane talks about things that she's being very brave, and there are a lot of people who hide. I was talking to someone within our Australian community, and our symptoms were very similar. And I'm not going to say who that person is, but the relief I thought we both felt at being able to sort of say, well, this is how we are in the world, and knowing someone else was sort of on the same page and understood us was kind of just a really good thing. And I feel sad that there is such a stigma that people can't go for diagnosis that can help them, you know, even medication with helping with the focus. I am so badly all over the place at the moment. I really actually do need some sort of focusing thing, but it's the severe lack of estrogen 5 years later. So my new doctor has been wonderful about talking through. There are many different varieties of HRT that help that won't be putting, you know, the cancer marker types of estrogens back into the body. So we're going to give that a go, which will be interesting. Do I have more to say on that? Yeah, I'd like to list some of the symptoms that I have had all my life that I've never ever thought were markers for anything. And it's silly things like my mum always did this, and I do it, is banging into things. It's like, why do I bang into things? Where did that bruise come from? I don't even know. And my mum always did it. She'd go, oh, I've got a bruise on my leg. I'm not quite sure how I got that. And I do that. And Lily does it. It's not funny, but it is funny. You got to laugh at your own little quirky moments. Your quirky bits. So things like what else? Well, my sensitivity to noise can be part of that. My inability to deal with a relationship over the last few years that really tried to make me be a different person, someone else, you know, like a sort of a box that I didn't fit into. And I spent a year trying to be, I guess what you would say is a normal partner, to fit in to the things that the other person needed me to be and do. It became so stressful, and it's no disrespect to him for trying his best. What I'm doing here is trying to match up this top bit without it having too much overlap. But without getting it wonky. Don't like unwonky. It's a bit overwhelming. Now, where has my needle gone? There it is. Didn't go too far. So I hope no one minds me bringing up this conversation, because I feel it's valid, and because most of my people that watch are women and may have similar issues or have gone, oh my goodness, you're telling my story. So it's I don't bounce off the walls. I can have the odd moment when I might, if I'm happy or excited, but in general, my way that it plays out, because I do have trauma from when I was younger, under 10, and also from a particularly abusive husband, my first husband. So it is combined with PTSD. And to be honest, I feel like I'd like to stop there being a stigma about it. I feel like we should talk about it. I've spoken to another YouTuber who said, oh, well, you can't say any of that because, you know, all of a sudden you lose all your subscribers. And I'm like, well, I lost there goes the dog. Oh my God. I lost 1 or 2 subscribers when I said I was in my political era a little while ago. And, you know, that's okay, because subscribers have a choice. They can decide whether they stay with you or not. And if people don't want to, we're a community. And what I find in person is the women in person are so supportive. If someone has a little cry at a workshop or, you know, is upset, and I know one of you who follow me will say, you're talking about me there, about going back home and not having the same community. The women are so supportive and so beautiful about that sort of thing that I think, you know, if I'm going to lose subscribers by just talking about something that quite a lot of the population has, so I'm just stitching up here and stitching down here for the inside, so be it. I mean, you know, yes, we do earn a little bit of money, not a lot, but we do earn a little bit of money, and so you don't really want to lose subscribers. But however, I believe it's a very important conversation, and I don't want to be anyone other than myself. So with regards to the relationship and what's going on with trying to fit in with someone else who has way more rules and regulations, that did my head in, but I really worked hard to make it work, and I wanted that relationship and I loved that person. But in the end, I spent a year being depressed because I wasn't being myself. I was being really someone else to fit in to what he needed, and that's not healthy. That's really unhealthy, and that's no disrespect to him, who loved me and tried really well, but I couldn't do it in the end. I couldn't. So one of the things, not just with what they say about autism, but with ADHD, is also the masking to fit in. And so that year I was depressed. I really was masking to fit in with that relationship. And that was last year. And in the relationship also, as part of it, I had 3 breakdowns because there were traumas being triggered. So I know this is a bit all TMI about my personal stuff, but if this gives someone else the ability to talk about their stuff, to look at how, something is for them, and makes life a little bit easier for someone else, then I'll own it. I will own it. So that's where I've been at, and that's why I've had to put in things into place, like my videos every Saturday, so I know I wake up Monday morning, it's the working week, I look at my project and I can plan it out over a few days without having the ADHD, let's just call it procrastination. Yes, let's just say that's what it is. Right, so I've got this, it's beautiful. I think I've been a bit off there, so I'm just going to do one more line just to make sure. This will all be covered, of course. So this is our bowerbird nest, and I am really going to be very ADHD and move quite off topic all over again and talk about this. Lily and I, we kind of have a laugh about it, and I'm so grateful she's been living with me and that we're very similar and we're very good friends, and I'm very grateful she's been here while I've been going through a breakup, and it's just made my house and my home a safe place, which has been wonderful. All right, here we are. So this is my little shell. Now I'm going to film this over 2 weeks, so you'll get the complete bit, a complete whole basket nest thing. And let me now look at the shape. So I don't know if I wanted it that high. I think I might want it a little bit smaller. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, little bowerbird nest. All right, so I'm going to now let me decide. Am I making it so is that, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, maybe I am. Maybe I'd like to do it that way. Just have a little bit turning. I do love a little turnover on all my baskets and vessels and nests and whatever we want to call them. Oh yeah, actually no, I like it. I think it sits better with that in the inside. What do you think? That's great, isn't it? I almost want to leave the wool in the bottom because, as with everything, these are memories. And you know what? I actually think I want to leave a wool exterior. Oh, I'm loving this so much. Maybe I'm not doing, maybe it's just a woolen nest. Oh, that's so cute. Because I have been looking at, and I'll just show you some photos here. This is the flame bowerbird, and I just love that bright colours of it, which reminds me of the base of my little vessel. I'm quite fascinated by their twiggy nests, and the blue ones tend to collect a lot of blue stuff, but these colourful ones seem to collect coloured things, and I'm loving those greens and blues that one's collected. When I put the photos in, I will write the name of it because I've just forgotten for now. But there's the start of my basket, and I want to work on a handle. This one's going to have a handle because the bowerbird nests have this gorgeous rattan or grassy kind of, you know, it comes up. You'll see it in the photos. It's like there's a hole in the middle and they come up and around and touch at the top. And I really want to do a handle like it's a basket for that. So let me go and get some bits and pieces together and I will come back with my neck. Okay, so I'm back and I have decided to make these twig-like things, and they're made out of a polyplastic kind of cording, so they're fairly bendable. So where am I up to? And then I'll show you how far I've got with the actual basket. It's actually, I think, a bit quicker than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so I'll just show you the process of what I've been doing. So my process is to wrap the end, and if you just twirl it a bit in your fingers, it just basically starts to wrap up the length of the cord. Get it pretty quick if you get to just get everything in the right position and your hands in the right position. It's fairly quick. Now I didn't know how many of these to do because obviously if it's a bowerbird nest it's really quite a lot of little twigs and sticks and different thicknesses and all of that. And if I was thinking this was a non-used sculptural piece, I might think a little bit more of, you know, about that. But this is actually a usable basket for my craft room. So I just sort of snip the end a bit like that. I have a needle ready to go. And got a knot in the end. Once I get that through that last bit of material, I can just wrap a bit. And when I've got up near the end, I can come down a little bit, and all I do is just a little knot, 2 little knots to secure it. I haven't been worrying too much if a little bit of that pokes out because I'm coming up with a process for the next step. And then once that's knotted, I just come in there and through and out a bit further down. And just snip it off. Alright, so with all of these, and this is an old torn IKEA sheet. I've made, I think I made 5 for each side, 5 and 5. So my idea is to get them all like this and start another wrap again, just to hold them all together, but also to help give material to stitch to the basket, vessel or nest, whatever. So this is good. This can be little offcuts as well. So this part is going to go into the side of the basket at the base. Probably going to leave a little bit of a lip to be turned over as well. Now with this one, I'm going to have to definitely make sure that I go through each of the little strands with my stitching. Just get this on first with a knot. Do a bit of a wrap again. Firstly, to get this on, see how it's going to look like that. I think that I want this under there. What I'm going to have to do is feel each little piece under, make sure that one's popping out a little bit. So this is a bit crucial because we really don't want them to be falling out. Try and go actually through each one. That could be difficult. Got my pliers though. Right, I've got one secured in there. Now, second one. Okay, I've been weaving along, making sure they're all fairly well attached. Much as I can. Now my idea is, when I have done the other one similar and that's ready to be stitched to the side, the inside side of the basket, is that pulling these all up into the center, like so, that when the other side is done, that these will meet in the middle, and what I'll be doing is securing them as well and putting another bit around to create a handle. So I'm going to do a little bit more and then I'll show you what I mean. I think I'll do it the way it looks like it's going to work. So something like that. So it's like the bowerbird. So I'm going to go off and do that, and then I'll show you what I've done to the outside of the basket to make it look more like a bowerbird nest. Okay, so I have just stitched these onto the insides, and I've wrapped these ends and I'm stitching them together, and I'm still thinking about whether I might get a sturdy kind of fabric to wrap around this part of the handle just to cover it up, because it's a bit clunky with the bits on the top and the bits underneath. But I'm going to think about that overnight and going through these all once again. And something I have also noticed is if there's nothing in the basket, this is quite hefty compared to the rest of the vessel. So it will work really well if there's something inside. But here is the handle. So let me put it like this a bit, show you. Like that, and like that. Sorry, hope that didn't make anyone dizzy. And let me show you around the outside. So this is kind of what I'd consider the back. I've got this beautiful bowerbird shiny trim all around, and I've done a blanket stitch, both bottom and top. And the way I've brought in the colours of that particular bird, you know, they're very flame colours, so I have got the bright orange and some yellows through, and this bright yellow. And then when we get round to the front, I've got all the little special treats that the bowerbird has found and added to the nest to make it all beautiful. So just bits. I found all sorts of bits and pieces that could have come from anywhere, you know. And I've tried to keep the colour scheme of the bright, more tropical colours. There's a bit of a mandala metal, the safety pin, these beautiful little bubbles, and all these little plastic flowers that I found. So I'll pop back in tomorrow morning with my thoughts on this part. Okay, so I found a lovely bit of, it's like a batik kind of material, which I quite like. Nice and contrasty to the orange, because really this is about bright colours, this particular basket. Calling it a basket now because it's very basket-like. And I've got this bit of wool that I'm going to use to secure it. Because why not? It's a very small sort of a boucle type of a thing. Boucle, is that the word? Something like that. Anyway, whoops, oh, bumped the camera, sorry. It's a bit rustic, which is okay. It is a sort of a rustic design. What I want is probably some contents in this basket to help it to sit properly as it would if I have things in it. It's just still at the moment coming in a bit. So what am I putting in? I've just put in some things I've got right next to me. got this beautiful wool, beautifully dyed. I'm just waiting on one of those wool winders, and I'm going to, actually, let's take that out. I've got two, which will be fun. Get some wool winders there to wind it in smaller balls. Okay, here it is. It's a bit floppy. I'm now wishing I'd have made it perhaps a little bit shorter, but it does remind me of the bowerbird, the way that it's got all those twiggy things. Bit better how it is from a side angle. How cute. What a fun little project. I really love the process of trying to nut out how to make something. And you have this thought at the start of what you want to do and how you want it to progress. And then as it evolves, things change, and it's just very much part of the fun and the joy of the creative process and the learning. So for me, I have learned that perhaps I would make the twiggy bits a bit shorter, and also that the only wool makes it very floppy, which I generally love in a lot of my soft vessels, but this one I'm now thinking possibly down the line I might line it with something and have something like stiffer in the walls and in the base. And I'm going to do an upcycle of the fisherman's basket that I found at the op shop. Not sure if it's the next video or the one after, but that had cardboard in to keep the structure, so this will segue into that, I think. There you have it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I loved it. It was fun, good learning curve, and now I have my own little bowerbird nest vessel basket thing to sit on the table and bring some delight to people. All right, well, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.